welcome back to another edition of the Lowco Grind presented by Reverence Wrestling Club. We got an Olympian in our midst. He's on the move right now, looking for a better connection. But Ken Shurto joining myself, Justin Jarrett, tonight on the Lowco Grind, and we're going to have some more friends hopping by, hopefully, assuming they're able to make it this late on the day after wrestling day, because as Coach Shurto knows, those days in the gym can be awfully long, and you can be pretty worn down. You got to recoup on Sunday, so we'll see how many of them make it up late. I know Ashley Powell was already in bed, after a day's work yesterday, winning the Bobcat duels from May River. I actually crashed out on the couch for a few minutes before it was time to get back after it, because I knew we had Coach Shurto coming in. But this show, of course, presented by Reverence Wrestling Club, which is where we were this afternoon. Ken, you have made it a habit. Your parents retired down here to Hilton Head, and you've made it a habit to come and do clinics down here every time you're down here. So you were over at Reverence today. You'll be back over there tomorrow on Monday on Martin Luther King Day. But I'd love to get your thoughts on just kind of the progression of wrestling as you've seen it here in the Low Country through the lens of, checking in on it once or twice a year and kind of seeing where it is and what you think of the state of it right now.
I think it's come a long way here in the Hilton Head, the Low Country area. Just in the past decade, since my parents moved down here, I've been doing clinics, and it was pretty rough a decade ago. But a lot of the coaches are working hard consistently and getting more kids started, getting them started younger, like your son starting younger, and now he's in middle school and has some experience in front of him. I sat through the duels that was hosted at Bluffton. I watched the 8-team dual meet tournament on Saturday, and definitely steady improvements, going good. And a lot of it's due to the kids doing extra in the club. So Reverence Wrestling Club today, there was 30 guys and girls there at the club. It was exciting, and a lot of those dedicated kids were some of the best in the area.
Well, tell people a little bit more about your credentials, because I think in wrestling circles, your name is pretty well known. You're still kind of out there in a sense, because you do some commentary on Big Ten Network for big matches, and you're with the Misericordia University, the women's team up in Pennsylvania, coaching them. So you're still known in those circles, but I think a lot of our audience is kind of new to the sport, because maybe their kids are getting into it and they're wanting to learn more about it. So, give people a little bit more about your resume and your credentials, because they're pretty impressive.
Well, a quick who am I? Is I grew up in West Virginia, so I got out of a state that isn't real prominent in wrestling, similar to, say, Low Country. I mean, it's just growing, evolving, improving. And I went away to college at Penn State, and I excelled at Penn State. I made our Olympic team when I was 21, a junior at Penn State, and I coached there at Penn State and Ohio State for nearly a decade. And then I've just, ever since, I've just been doing camps, clinics, running around the country, strictly teaching wrestling, promoting our sport. You mentioned the television, working with the Big Ten Network, Pac-12 Network. So full-time wrestling, been a life of wrestling. And as you know, just this year, I'm starting Misericordia Women's Wrestling. So I'm focused on freestyle and women. And that's a really exciting venture for me. I still run my summer camp every summer, 2 weeks in the middle of July, right in the heart of Pennsylvania. We use a convention center hotel. It's awesome. And we got a great thing going. But my full-time gig is promotion of women's wrestling, running freestyle program at Misericordia University in Eastern Pennsylvania. And my full-time job tomorrow, Monday, Martin Luther King Day, is strictly coaching the kids here locally in Low Country.
Yeah, going to be great. And you had a bunch of them in there today, and a bunch more going tomorrow. And really working on just, basics, fundamental stuff, but maybe a step above kind of what they're getting in their middle school rooms or things like that. Working on some, slightly more advanced stuff. I know Truman was excited he came home and he wrote down all the moves that he learned today, like you told him to. And was going to go through them before he went to bed, just like you told him, like Coach Blake told him to. Great to see the kids just embrace it and embrace the opportunity. And speaking of that, speak to the quality of facility that we have in our backyard with Reverence, because that's another thing. Like, people maybe have never been to a youth wrestling facility before, walk in there and might think that's the norm. It is not. That place is like world-class, phenomenal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no exaggeration. Truly a great situation. Blake Maffey has committed to the community. He rented this huge space, about 10,000 square feet plus. 3 full mats, weight room. I mean, Blake's an incredible coach, outstanding, does outstanding work. Was an awesome high school wrestler in New Jersey and just chose to settle down here. And he's been working with kids individually very successfully for 5 years now. And I'm very impressed with him. I've seen him teach a lot. We're friends on Facebook. I follow the different clinicians he brings in. He does a lot of good work. Oh, there you see. There's my proof, video proof of 3+ full mats, padded walls, Reverence Wrestling Club. And you mentioned youth club facility. Absolutely. Every young boy and girl in Low Country should be there learning our sport, trying our sport. But it's also an elite training center for teenagers. So junior high school wrestlers that are wrestling all winter definitely should make a commitment to spring and summer wrestling right there at RWC, Reverence Wrestling Club, with Blake. And he's very creative in his marketing and promotions. You're showing the video of some of the walls and what he's doing there. But he's all about helping kids and promoting our sport here in Low Country.
I mean, I walk in this place and I'm just like transported back to when I was a kid, and I just think, oh my God, I would have been in heaven in this place. Like this is so amazing. And I was telling Truman tonight, I was like, you guys don't know how good you have it. Like, you know, a lot of us growing up, like the only place to go practice wrestling felt like you were going into like, you know, an old abandoned warehouse or something, like to wrestle on one little mat in a dark room and there's water dripping in the corner or something. Like to have this opportunity is really cool. And then to for him to leverage his connections and things to be able to get people like yourself to come in, and really there's no leverage involved, because I think one thing I love about the wrestling community is, just like you, everybody who loves the sport is really an ambassador for it, and wants to go out and help kids get better and get more kids into the sport, because we've seen the value of it. So it's pretty easy to get you on board to come teach somebody wrestling, isn't it?
Definitely. I love our sport. I love doing clinics. Before Blake was here for the 5 years, I was coming down here and visiting my folks. Before that, I'd done clinics in lots of different high schools all across the area, and also into the Georgia area too. When I'd come, but now I still do clinics at schools. But it's definitely nice to work with Blake. We're doing 2 days in a row. You see that's today's clinic with me teaching the kids. We had a nice turnout, about 30 kids. About 10 of them were girls. Very excited about the growth of women's wrestling, girls wrestling. And then we're back at it tomorrow from 12 to 2. We're going to do a lot of top work, a lot of pinning. I know there's a lot of jiu-jitsu and martial arts in this area too. We welcome, fighters. We welcome wrestlers and fighters of all ages, whether youth or teens or adults, learning our sport and getting involved in wrestling.
Yeah, great little note there from Elizabeth, who I met out in the lobby. She came and introduced herself, said she watches the show, and I didn't realize who her son was until after the fact, but Declan, the little bitty guy who was working out with Mila Perez, he's gonna be a stud. He's little and already knows what he's doing. I love seeing those little guys. He was fun. So tell me just a little bit more about the Bobcat duels yesterday. What'd you see over there?
Well, I seen a lot of young wrestlers getting after it. A lot of freshmen and sophomore. I see some of the experienced kids hitting some nice moves, a lot of good use of the underhook and front headlock. I seen a lot of kids need to work on bottom and learn to chain wrestle off bottom. As we're panning through Reverence here, where you see the weight room in the background, that's a big step too. Technique's half of wrestling, but getting power and strength is really important, and it carries over into bottom position a lot too. So that was one glaring area I saw, is kids struggling to get away, need to get better on bottom, on chain wrestling. I didn't see a whole lot of advanced top work. I'd say that's a big area. I mean, most of the takedowns are pretty similar nationwide, but the top wrestling's evolved a great deal, especially with tilts and legs. Where I'm in Pennsylvania, it's very prominent. I didn't see a whole lot of it yesterday, but that's why you do clinics and year-round wrestling, to get the extra in and do more advanced techniques. There you see in the background talking in the lobby at the end, not just the wrestlers, but their parents. Very supportive parent group there. They were into it, dedicated group. They're giving the kids the opportunities they need to get from good to great. Because most of the kids in the room today were good. It's just a matter of getting them to the next level.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. And I think a lot of the kids who were in there today too are still fairly new to the sport. So I think the potential is tremendous in this area as we continue to get more kids participating year round. And I'm an advocate. When we say year round wrestling, we don't mean necessarily at the expense of other sports. I'm an advocate for multiple sports. I know that you, as well as I, sing the praises of wrestling as cross training, especially for football players, linemen, But for really any sport, I mean, the agility, the footwork, the toughness, the humility, all the things it instills really translate well. And when we talk about year-round wrestling, we're really talking about just getting on the mat once or twice a week, keeping those skills fresh and continuing to learn will make a tremendous difference. It doesn't have to be traveling the country wrestling year-round to get good. You just need to be staying, keeping one foot in it during your quote unquote off season. But certainly there's the opportunity to go travel the country and wrestle year round too. And you mentioned freestyle and Greco, which are still, with Reverence, those kids are doing it, but it's still a fairly new concept in this area. But talk a little bit about just all the opportunity there is and kind of what the calendar looks like for kids who want to dive in.
Well, like you said, you don't do wrestling 7, but it is good to dabble in throughout the year. To the calendar, I mean, the main sport is now. The main wrestling season is now. Spring. That is when you're going to get most of your wrestling in, practicing, and competition. Reverence is open for year-round wrestling. The kids can do extra wrestling there consistently. I offer 2 weeks of summer camp right in the middle of July. It's not really during the competitive season, so it's perfect for off-season development. Mm-hmm. It's a technical camp. It's a skill camp. And we get a lot of scrimmaging in with a lot of kids from across the country. So from a seasonal structure, winter's the core season, spring's the bonus season, and then a good time for development is in the off season, doing extra with camps and club wrestling, and that's where I come into play with the summer camp.
Right on, man. So looking ahead to tomorrow, what all we drilling tomorrow?
Well, we're going to review drill the heck out of the moves we did today. We did inside carry, outside carry. We did some single legs, did some ankle laces. We did snake, front headlock. And I'm just speaking off the top of my head. We did a number of by setups. We did both knock bys and pull bys. And we hit it hard. We touched a little bit on the top position, but mostly did stuff on our feet. And we're going to get on the top tomorrow. We're going to be tough on top. We're going to run some tilts, some legs, some freestyle. And it's going to be a good practice of, mixing of the age groups and what skills work at different age groups from beginners through advanced. And really about just a variety of chain wrestling moves from the top position tomorrow. And again, that's noon to 2 on Martin Luther King Day. And that'll be the focus on tomorrow afternoon's session.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I going back to what you said about wrestling on bottom. I agree with you. I'm back in the coaching realm now, in the middle school realm, and it's frustrating to me how many guys want to pick top when they win the choice. Because I was trained that we always pick bottom and we get out. That was our mentality. We're going to get our free point and then we're going to take you down. And we're still kind of trying to instill that mentality a little bit here. That he's my size. He can't ride me. I'm getting out of there. But it's coming. And like you said, it's a lot about chaining things together and just having a motor that doesn't quit. Like, don't stop until you're out. Literally, is what it's about sometimes. But we're still working on those skills, and I love the sport. I've really enjoyed getting into coaching it again. I dabbled in it a few years back, and I got back into it now, and I realize how much I really enjoy it. You can tell from my voice; it's not real great after yesterday. There was a lot of yelling going on, but man, it's such a rewarding thing, as you know. To go out there and go head to head with somebody and get your hand raised is a real rewarding thing. But there's something about coaching a guy through it that like feels even better in a way, because you couldn't do it yourself. Like you couldn't actually impact it, but you were able to guide him, through the week and give him the feeling, the right thoughts to get through it. And then he gets through it, and then you're like, oh man, that was amazing. I don't know, man. There's something about it. Am I right?
Absolutely. I'm glad you're really embracing coaching and you're getting that feeling and excitement. It's also special coaching your son. I mean, when there's no better father-son sport than our sport, wrestling, that individual man-to-man and getting to coach your boy. And that's an exciting and unique source of adrenaline. So you're helping your kid and the entire group of those Bluffton middle school kids and getting, impacting their lives.
Man, it's been awesome. I was hoping our friend, my buddy Chase Gearhart, our head coach at McCracken, would hop on with us tonight, but he might have crashed early tonight. We had a long day yesterday. But Ken, always great to talk to you, man. And you really were inspiring when we saw you a few years ago at Riptide. Truman was not ready for your clinic yet. He was a little too young, a little too green then. But he was excited to get back in there today, and he picked up some good stuff, and he's already his knee's all banged up from 5 matches yesterday and today, but he still can't wait to get back in there tomorrow and learn some more. So we appreciate you always, giving us a little piece of your knowledge when you come down to the Low Country, and love your love for this place as kind of a second home.
Yeah, I enjoy it a great deal, and I'll look forward. So my rep is that wrapping up. Then I'm taking off.
If you want to, you can hang out a little longer if you want to, but
No, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that was your segue. What was going on? I want to make sure I, commend Truman for going 5 matches and then coming to wrestle the next day. So those are the kids that took off today to rest. Hopefully we'll see them tomorrow. And I'll also steer people to my summer camp and learn about it at my website. It's kenchirto.com. I guess you see my last name on my shirt here. So it's kenchirto.com. And that's where all my summer camp information is. Then you also mentioned Riptide. I'm grateful to the Juarez family and John and Gabe. I was there. This was before the Reverence started. And when Reverence started, I reached out to Coach Juarez, and he basically said, "Hey, I'm just focusing on the MMA. You want to do wrestling clinics? You need to hook up with Blake." And he literally connected me to Blake, and I've been working hard with Coach Blake Mafia at Reverence ever since. And every time I come down here to visit my folks, I set up a clinic. So I'm grateful for the opportunity in the community. And I'm grateful. I do get a lot of Low Country kids drive and fly up to my camp near Penn State every summer. We have a great situation.
Yeah, well, the last time that you were here, I said Truman was a little too green for it. That was mostly because you had a bunch of college guys show up. He was young, but it was also like you had a bunch of college guys show up that day, and so like you started working some advanced stuff, and he got lost fast. But I saw what was happening. It was him and Jake Sowers, this kid, and I was like, hey, you guys just come over here and let's work some other stuff and scrap, because they got a special thing happening over here that we need to just stay out of.
I do remember that clearly. They were the 2 youngest then, and then today they got out there in front of everybody and wrestled. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And now Jake's dad's over there coaching at Buford. So you're in the Bluffton, the junior high feeder, and he's over at Buford, and things just keep growing and growing. We want to get more Hilton Head kids coming over the bridge to wrestle at Reverence, and more Battery Creek and Buford kids coming over, and just get the whole area going strong. So Low Country kids help each other all spring and summer.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. We even had kids. We've got kids from Charleston coming down. You had kids today come from Myrtle Beach and Jacksonville and all over the place. So
yeah, well, those were recruits. So I used this as a recruiting camp, and I invited some different students I was in touch with from the Southeast. We had 1 fly in from Tampa. We had 2 drive in from the Atlanta suburbs. We had 1 come down from Charleston, another 1 come down from Myrtle Beach. It was really cool. It was exciting to see so many of my prospects come and train and join the Low Country wrestlers. It was a really nice mix of students and a lot of tough women.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had a couple local hammers as far as girls. Vivian, who was there today, she won the co-ed JV sectional yesterday. She pinned her way through it at 126, beat all the guys. And then Jada Lawrence was a state champion. She was here today. She was a state champ last year in South Carolina for girls.
She's 10th grade, huh? That was her first year wrestling last year. I didn't know she was state champ last year. She did great today. And I noticed her yesterday when I sat through the tournament at Bluffton yesterday. Jada was killing it, against the boys. She's very, very motivated, smart, sharp young lady. So I'm glad I got a chance to work with her. But there was, 10, 11 girls in the room today, and they were good quality women of all ages too, little girls too.
Yeah. Well, little Mila Perez is a little hammer. She's tough.
Yeah, Team Perez was 4 of the 30 kids in there today, right?
Team Perez brings it.
Stable. He's got his own team.
Almost, yeah. Well, 2 of them are our school, but neither one of them can wrestle right now, so we're missing them on because Tommy's sitting a year, and then Sophia's had some health issues that she hasn't been able to get out there, which is really bummed us out because we were looking forward to seeing her beat up on some boys in middle school this year. But we'll have to wait till next year. It'll all be good. But on those lines, I know that the Perez's are trying to raise some money to get Sophia a therapy dog. So if anybody is inclined to donate, let us know, and we'll get you the link to help out with that, because they're trying to find solutions for her. She's been having some seizures and stuff that have kept her off the mat. So we'd love to get her feeling better and get her back out there. But well, Ken, again, I guess I will segue and let you go now, but I do appreciate you, man, and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Good. See you,
right.
Lowco. See everybody tomorrow at noon at Reverence.
Sounds great. Our first Olympian on the Lowco Grind, Ken Shurto. Maybe we'll have many more, but appreciate you, Ken.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care, buddy. Ken Shurto joining us on the Lowco Grind. Outstanding stuff. Like I said, I met him a few years back at a clinic over at Riptide MMA, and he was terrific, and got to see him really work at a high level with some college guys who were from the area, who were back and teach them some high level stuff. And then some of the really high level high school guys at the time, like James Levy, who's now wrestling at a high level in D3. And so D3 wrestling now too, Coach Shurto mentioned there that Misericordia is a new program in Pennsylvania, D3. I mean, there's a lot of those little D3 schools that have excellent academics and opportunities for kids to continue their career. It's a grind wrestling in college, but the guys and girls who are doing it year round understand that grind very well, and will be able to take it on. But some terrific wrestling happening today at Reverence Wrestling Club, which is the presenting sponsor of the Lowco Grind. And we appreciate Blake Maffei and everything that he's done over there to build that place up. We had some terrific wrestling happening over there today, and we had some terrific results over the weekend from kids around the Lowco, many of them who train at Reverence Wrestling Club that we'll talk about in just a minute. But we also want to shout out our MVP sponsors, Megan Jarrett, the official realtor of Lowco Sports, and my wife. She's with the new Anchor Home Group of Keller Williams of the Low Country, and she'd love to help you find your place in the Lowco and put down an anchor in the best place. Megan Jarrett, the official realtor of Lowco Sports, and Queen Bee of the Lowco Hive. When you find that perfect home, we'll call on Homegrown Home Inspections. My friend Jan Lucas and his team will look it over from top to bottom and make sure it is good to go. Be your best advocate until move-in day. Homegrown Home Inspections, official home inspectors of Lowco Sports. And when we sign the papers, it'll be at Mickelson Law Firm, the official real estate closing attorneys of Lowco Sports. And our original sponsors since 2017, Ryan and Tiffany and the Mickelson team have believed in Lowco Sports. So call on them for all your legal needs. And Hospice Care of the Low Country, the official hospice care of Lowco Sports and the only not-for-profit hospice in Southern Beaufort County. Love James Dismond and his wonderful team over there, providing hospice care, palliative care, free grief counseling, and coming soon, mental health services from Hospice Care of the Low Country, where it's not about dying, it's about living. Those are our
you guys have seen enough of me over the week, but I guess I'll be.
I was going to invite you in from the producer's chair since everybody went to bed on us tonight. We got plenty of viewers, but no co-hosts. So welcome in, Wes, to talk about some results because May River, the class of the Lowco, took down everybody at the Bobcat duels. They took the title. I was going to see if I could find some scores. I didn't have the scores. There they are. All right. So May River took down Stratford 40-23 in the championship match. Bluffton comes in third with a really solid 43-36 win over South Florence. Hilton Head beat JP2 64-15 in the fifth place match. Battery Creek 47-36 over Beaufort for seventh place. So there's a little taste of what we could expect in Region 8-3A. Whale Branch beat Colleton Prep 54-12 in the ninth place match. So some other scores that kind of stand out. JP2 with a 41-39 win over Battery Creek in the first round. I talked to Greg Lawns today over at Reverence. He was pretty pumped about that. That was a big win for them. They continue to show some serious legitimacy. Bluffton beat Hilton Head again, also beat Beaufort, and Bluffton had a good day, finishing third. They lost to Stratford, blank Colleton Prep. So, yeah, Bluffton was 3-1 in pool, just lost to Stratford, which ended up losing to May River in the championship. So that's a really, really solid day for them. Pal gave me a few shout-outs from the day before he went to bed. He said Bo Gwynn, the big man, 285, beat two state runners up yesterday, the 4A and 5A runners up. So that is good stuff. I'm trying to see who those guys would be. They'd have to be Stratford in the 5A, I'd say. Yeah, Stratford, Landon Stradcutter who was the runner-up last year. So that's a great win for Bo Gwynn. And then 285 would be the South Florence guy, Justin Joe, who's ranked second. That lower state bracket is going to be a hammer bracket at 285, though. You got Jackson Chavis from Hartsville, who's a state champ and ranked first. Joe's ranked second from South Florence. You got the kid from North Myrtle Beach who won the Shark, is ranked fifth. Denmark's ranked sixth. Jonathan Garrett from James Island's ranked seventh. And Bo Gwynn has been right there with a couple of those guys. I thought he actually beat the kid from North Myrtle Beach. He didn't get a stalling call the whole third period when I thought he should have gotten a couple. And then he got popped for one, if I remember right. That was nonsense. So anyway, I mean, Bo Gwynn's right there, which I've mentioned this before, but I think we got to go to more than 8 kids go to state per weight class.
Especially with schools that we thought a larger depth of talent, because it's a thin line between the talents of some of these kids, and you want to provide the opportunity for and it's there's a double-edged sword to it, because you want to see different schools compete, but if there's a way to be able to give an opportunity for those young men and young women to compete, and because sometimes there's diamonds in the rough, and there are a lot of good, solid wrestlers at these top end schools, and it's great to see these local teams really starting to get into the discussion here in these power rankings, with a couple ranked in the top 5, and Guaranteed Rope right there at number 1, and May River at 3, Battery Creek at 10. I'm really excited for that Creek squad. I mean, this seems like a year where they could really surprise. When you have the top end talent to grow, you have Legree sitting right there at number 2. So it's all going to come down to who they have left. Some of those other guys that are going to need to pull through in a big match when it comes to duels. But that's I love the way that program's developed. I think they're really starting to turn out some great talent over there. And man, what a dog he is on the wrestling mat. I got to watch him in a duel I had last year, and I was really impressed by the way he just dominated.
He's phenomenal
out there against a 4A school with a lot of good history. So, yeah, that Battery Creek team going to be one to watch. Buford's right there. Buford's creeping a little. Brandon Bowles there at number 2. So, that's going to be a team to watch, to look out for in terms of the schedule. I mean, just like the state of where we are in the season, obviously. This is the busy part, because we got all the duels going on. And I think you mentioned one last week in 1A where you have them all going one day, where you find out the region champion after one night of wrestling or something.
3A. That's 3A.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they do that. They send everybody to one place. At Battery Creek, I think next Wednesday. I don't think it's this Wednesday. I think it's the following. And yeah, they all go head to head. They stack them up and go. So it's pretty cool. I like it because, I like it for a lot of reasons. I mean, one is the guys have one big date to make weight, right? Like you don't have to make the weight 5 times, which I mean that works both ways, I guess in some ways. But I like the idea of everybody being at full strength theoretically for the one day that you have the matches that matter, because it does matter. The seeding really is important to the playoffs, and so by allowing everybody more time to get their lineup set and everything and be at their best, I like the idea that you're putting the 4 teams at that moment who are the best into the playoffs and in those seeds and sending them on. It works both ways for me. But I do like it. It's exciting. It's cool to bring them all together. It saves a ton on travel too. Let's just face it. Like everybody just has to travel one time.
Right. One of those good benefits of COVID that kind of worked out, and saying, hey, let's keep doing it, because it's more economical, cost effective, and it's just more exciting to see like everything decided on one night.
It's fun. We're doing it for the middle schools too. Yeah. We're going to do it in 2 Thursdays, and we're pumped about it. Like, we're getting excited about it because it's going to be fun to have a true like team championship for a middle school for the
especially
area.
for middle schools.
Yeah,
While
we're
we're on the subject of
undefeated
that,
right now in duels,
while
but
while you're on the subject of that, let's just, tell me more about the pipeline and your experience, Coach Beast. You had a busy week, or weekend on Saturday, so,
I'm so tired.
maybe we can get into.
I'm really tired because yeah, we were there all day, and then not like last week. It was way better than last week. It was not. We got to do the whole tournament, and we finished it by like 5, like it's supposed to. But still,
Yeah.
long day. 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Didn't get home till 7, I guess. So like a 14-hour day still. And great day. Terrific competition. I will say. The depth of competition level at middle school level in South Carolina right now is very good relative to where it's been in the past. There were almost every weight. There were good wrestlers who did not qualify for state, and I will say that qualifying for state in middle school in South Carolina is way harder than it is in high school. In this sense, 16 kids from each weight class go in middle school across all classifications. There are no classifications. In high
Right.
school, you get 8 per weight class, which I think is too few. I think it should be 16. But you got 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and Skiza. So you've really got 40 kids go to state per weight class versus 16 in middle school. So it is yeoman work to get in there. I mean, some really good kids got left out. With that said, let's shout out the local kids who made it. Middle school state qualifiers, champs at the sectional at Somerville. Our own H.E. McCracken Bulldog, Andrew Lawson, won it at 96. He had another great weekend. He has been lights out for the past 2 weeks, just phenomenal. He got shocked in the Lowco championship by Santino Comunal, who plays second this weekend. And he turned the corner since then. He's just turned it up a notch. Elijah Schuler for Robert Smalls, love that kid. He won it at 126. Cameron Posey from Ladies Island, another really good kid, won at 135. And Henry Santis from Bluffton Middle, really good kid, 158 champ. Almost all those several of them were all Loco finals. Because Santino Comunal, as I mentioned, placed second from Ladies Island at 96. Jake Izzy from River Edge was second at 114. CJ Florencio from Hilton Head at 120. Chris Martinez, Robert Smalls, another tough kid from 158. And Giovanni Contreras from Hilton Head at 175. And then third place finishers had to be top 3 to move on. So that's brutal. I mean, usually it's top 4 in a wrestling tournament. So top 3, usually you make it to the Conci finals, you've done something, but you still had to win that match, which several guys from the Loco did. Spencer McCallum at River Ridge, his older brother. We talked about him a lot. Caden at May River. Spencer was third at 96. All 3 Loco guys from 96. That was good. Eli Garcia, our guy from McCracken's, third at 102. He's tough. He's only a little over a year into it, but he has gone wholeheartedly into it. He's a Reverence. Every night he can be there, and that dude has gotten good fast. Cole Sowers, we mentioned him earlier, from Hilton Head, third at 114. He's also excellent. Corbin Centers from Bluffton, 175, third place. And Jason Arietta from Hilton Head, third at 285. He is also very good. That dude is man, he's tough. And then the JVs, couple champs, Vivian Uriola, as we mentioned, from May River, won it at 126. Go girl power. Leandro Laranega from May River won it at 150. He beat teammate Andre Caviero at 150 in the finals. Mason Salibi from Hilton Head second at 215. Jack Zahn from May River at 126. Xavier Copeland from Bluffton at 165. And Hayden Crockett from Hilton Head at 285 all finished third. So JV state qualifiers there. So lots of good wrestling, lots of good depth. The number of kids competing in the JV state tournament from the area is encouraging alone, because that means we have some depth there that's waiting in the wings, that is getting some experience. And I love that they do the JV state tournament thing, because although we all know like what it means, like JV means like you couldn't make your varsity lineup, right? Because if you're a freshman and you're wrestling varsity, you're not going to the JV. But what it does is give them something to shoot for, something to strive for, and an opportunity to continue to develop, to go into that format of not just an exhibition match at the end of the duel or whatever, but like a tournament where
if
it
you're
matters.
competing for
And you've got to
championship,
wrestle 5 or 6 in a row, and you've got to win them.
that's a grind in
Yeah.
those tournament settings to go through 4, 5, 6 competitors
And
in
every match it's going to get tougher because
right. I mean, you got to
all
have the
advance.
stamina because if you get in a scrap and you kind of get beat down a little bit, you got to get ready for that next one immediately. So it's not easy. I respect the best in this sport, especially those who can grind through those tournaments, because it takes another level of will and mental fortitude to survive the gauntlet that is these tournaments, especially those those top ones in the state, because man, you certainly have done something, and especially what we looked at in the Shark Invitational, and going into the state tournaments now. It's just wrestling continues to improve in South Carolina, and it is a challenge to get to the top level, the elite status in the sport. And give credit to the coaching staff and the coaches across the state for embracing that and just showing what the rewards it can bring in terms of not just winning championships at the state level, but competing for scholarships at the collegiate level if you find that this is your calling or something that you are really strong at. And there's so much opportunity in the sport now, and it's continuing to really grow in a state where in the past it wasn't as big. But I think you've been here longer, or you've been seeing wrestling grow longer than I have. So I'm sure you have a better visualization of how it's growing, and being through the sport in so many different venues. Of course, you grew up in a hotbed, so I'm sure you have more of a knowledge about what it takes to grow this sport and evolve it into something that can make waves in the community.
I mean, it's happening. That's the thing. Is like it's already happening. It's the ship has sailed, and we're going. Reverence is what needed to happen. We needed a dedicated year-round facility with a dedicated year-round program for those who wanted that. And it's not everybody. There's still, that's the great thing about middle school wrestling is still the great barrierless entry point, right? Like you can come in 7th grade, and I promise you, I know every wrestling coach in this county, and in middle school, they are all wonderful people. They all love the sport. They all talk about it just like me and Ken did. We want as many kids to get into it as possible. We want them to get as good as they can get at it. We want them to take as much of it as they can out of it. And it's happening now. So, the kids that come in 7th grade and they've never wrestled before, that's fine. We love those kids. As coaches, we love those kids because they get so much better so fast. They see so much progress in such a short time by learning just fundamental stuff and working on it. And when they have just a little bit of success, I mean, just win one, like the confidence leaves. And then they want to do more. And then it's like, whoa, now they get beat, and they're like, dang it, I forgot how much I hated getting beat. I didn't know how it felt to win. And so they want to get better. And then they really, after they have a little success and then some more adversity, that's when you see the biggest growth. Because that's when they're like, oh man, I thought I was getting good, but then I got beat. So now I got to go back and actually get good. And they get a little more locked in the room. They get a little more focused on the details of how to execute the move, because they did it in the match like they did in practice, and it didn't work because that guy countered it, and so now they want to know, how do you do it right? And it's like massive growth in such a short period. Now then after that, that's where Reverence comes in, and that's where Truman is right now. On the way home last night, he said, I want to go to Reverence. I want to start going as much as I can, and I want to go year round. Even when it's baseball season, I want to make sure I go there too, because he's in that place where he started winning most of his matches, but then he got to where it's time to go to state, and he saw, geez, even the guy who beat me didn't end up making it, so it's like I gotta get better, and he's ready now to really lock in. And
and the middle schools where you can really separate it seems, with the work that we've witnessed at Revenance, and it's something that you don't get everywhere in the States. So if you really commit yourself during this time of your wrestling career before you make the jump to high school, that's where it can really benefit from you. And coaching has been outstanding. The program as a whole at Revenants, the way that they're bringing in so many more young men and young women to kickstart their journeys in the sport. It's really awesome just to have the parents involved to let them know the process of what it takes and to have them guide them along throughout the journey. I mean, that's as important as working with the kids. So they're doing it right over there, and it was awesome to get an inside look because I haven't been there yet. Hopefully, it'll be fun to kind of see what goes on behind the scenes at one of those practicing camps and show and like show ourselves how it happens, how the magic happens, and how they work on these kids and the techniques that they use to empower them. And I think it's all about staying power because it's you mentioned that in terms of you want to play as many sports as possible, and especially early on your high school career. I think that's a good thing, and but you want to make sure that they keep coming back, and
Right.
I think they're doing a good job of retaining that talent to continue learning grinding, especially because of how important it impacts other sports. So they're doing it right over there, and they're a big reason why things are really starting to blossom in the Lowco. And thanks to our tremendous large number of coaches that continue to do a good job reinforcing what happens over there, and to really work them hard and motivate them, because it's such a rewarding opportunity and discipline. When it's done right, it can be a lot of fun, and as you mentioned, so rewarding, especially when you get that first win. I feel like when you get that first win, then you get that first placement or that medal in a tournament, and you just keep building on from there. It's a great individual sport.
That first pin too.
Yeah.
Pin. That gets them psyched up. But no, I mean, the something that popped in my mind while you were talking about the culture and reverence and all that stuff is just look how cool this place is to hang out. Like if you're a wrestler, like that's the kind of place you just want to go be every night. Like it's such a motivating place, such a positive environment. And then the community that develops, and not everybody sees that, but the kids, one of the things I love about the sport is, I said I know all the coaches, like they're all our best friends because we go spend 14 hours together every Saturday in the gym, and we all cheer for each other's kids. We're all sitting together in the bleachers. Heck, 3 of our schools rode the same bus up on Saturday. Like they're all our buddies. I saw my girl Ella Claire Harwell at the lacrosse clinic today. I saw my buddy Finian Rogers, who was our little kid from McCracken who broke his arm earlier this season. He was back out there playing lacrosse today. That was awesome. I'd love to see him get back on the mat, but I understand if he doesn't. But the community that occurs, and you see these kids from different schools that train at Reverence together are out there cheering each other on, picking each other up after their match, warming each other up before the matches, because it's all one community. Like we're on different teams, but we're all pulling for each other. We all understand the grind that everybody goes through to get there. And so there's a mutual respect and appreciation for one another. There's Truman and little Miles DeGraffenried from Bridges getting after it. They both wrestled 5 matches yesterday and came up 1 short. So they were both back in there trying to get better today. Miles is tough. We had him way back when we were starting low country.
I love seeing all the younger kids get into it, and
there's Jada Lawrence
and the girls.
There's Jada Lawrence and the girl from Georgia that Coach Cherto brought down. A couple JP2 guys there. Jake Alfonso from Thomas Hayward in there. There's Vivian, the champ, working front headlock, gator roll to near side cradle. I like that one a lot. But no, Wes, if you want to come in and get a little look behind the scenes how the sausage is made, 12 to 2 tomorrow over at Reverence, Coach Cherto is going to be leading them through it again. It's pretty cool. A lot of the area coaches will be in there helping him out like they were today, as well as the guys from Reverence. You didn't see much of it in the video, but there's a really cool space as well for parents to sit out front. Well, you saw it at the end here when Coach was doing his talk. Great space out front for parents to sit.
Yep.
And they've got it set up so you can hear what they're talking about on the inside. So the parents can actually hear the instruction that's happening.
That's cool.
Which is really cool. It's a little different than most places that I've seen. There's Blake in the background there. Great job that guy's done over there. And the dedication is just, I mean, he dedicates his whole life to it. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal what he does. But anyway, let's shout out some more sponsors. The varsity sponsors of Lowco Sports. One of them is Reverence Wrestling Club, the presenting sponsor of the Lowco Grind. We've said enough about them. You know all about them. Also, DDS Web Design, building, hosting, and maintaining websites for businesses and nonprofits that get results. So call on them if you want to do more and think bigger. DDSHHI.com. And Parker Law Group, serving legal needs across Hampton, Colleton, and Jasper counties for years. And we appreciate their support, allowing us to continue to expand our coverage into those counties and shine a light on more deserving teams and student athletes around the Lowco. So speaking of which, let's look at those. You kind of hinted at them, but the SC MAT rankings were updated this week. So we'll run through those. May River coming in at number 3 in Class 4A. They've got 5 guys ranked in their weight classes. Ryan Seaman, 7th at 106. Caden McCallum, 3rd at 126. Houston Root is still number 7 at 138. Dylan Seaman, number 7 at 144. And Josh Echevarria, number 2 at 175. I think most, if not all, those guys go to Reverence. Bluffton, number 20 in Class 4A, although I would suggest they're a little better than that. Gabe Fulton, number 8 at 157. Oscar Durcio, number 4 at 165. And Bradley Denmark, number 6 at 285. Hilton Head didn't crack the top 20. Bryce Stevenson is ranked 7th at 113. In 3A, Battery Creek, number 10. Linares is 4th at 126. Andrew Legree, 2nd at 157. Gunnar DeGroat, the GOAT, number 1 at 175. And Leroy Tyus, number 4 at 285. And then Beaufort's ranked 16th with Antonio McKnight, 4th at 138. Brandon Bowles, 2nd at 144. And Jaden Priester, 7th at 285. 2A, 1A, Bridges cracked the top 20 for the first time at number 18. Kevin Summers is ranked 6th at 165. And Big Jerry Chavez, 5th at 285. And then in the Skeezer ranks, JP2, I mentioned they got that big win against Battery Creek this weekend. That was solid. They are ranked 4th in the Skeeza. They got a bunch of dudes ranked. Jace Reynolds, 4th at 106. I love him. He's got a great headlock. Hayes Kiefer, 3rd at 126. Daniel Snyder, 2nd at 132. He was over at the clinic today. Brian Orta, 4th at 144. Jack Hannigan was there too. He's 2nd at 150. See, those guys are ranked number 2. They're at the clinic. They're trying to get to number 1. Let's go. Alex Mercer, 3rd at 165. Gavin Byrne, 4th at 190. And Renzo Cedeno, 4th at 215. Carlton Prep's 10th. They got Carter Sims, 2nd at 157. And Kason Warner, 4th at 165. Hayward's 11th. Jacob Alfonso, he was at the clinic. He's 2nd at 113. And I think Giovanni Rodriguez was there too. He's 2nd at 126. And Patrick Henry's 17th. I didn't even know they had a team, but I knew they had Luke Sobey, who moved here from Missouri, and he's a little hammer. He's 5th at 175. So those are your Lowco guys in the rankings. Rankings mean nothing, of course. It doesn't really matter. You go to the lower state and you try to get in the top 4.
You're helpful for us, but at the end of the day, it's how you perform in the biggest meets. If you are able to place in the lower state and make your way to states, those rankings don't matter at all. So, it's motivation for those young men who are, not where they want to be. And now you got a couple of weeks to change it and let them know, because it's really starting to get into the thick of it, as you would say, in this wrestling season as we get into the big meets.
Yeah, this is it. You got the last couple of weeks or a couple matches of region matches, and then we'll get into the dual playoffs. They'll rattle those off in 1 week. 2 rounds on a Saturday, then Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, I think is how it goes. So it happens fast, and then we roll right into Indies with the lower state and then the state. So it's coming to a head. I mean, the younger kids are already, they got a state tournament next weekend, and then we got a little dual championship locally, and that's it. So
Very nice. Yeah, see some more duels. Those are a lot of fun to watch in person. So good to have you local.
Have to come check out the middle school dual championship. That's gonna be
that sounds like an amazing, intense atmosphere over there.
It is.
For those middle school kids.
Oh yeah, they love it. They love the duels because like the individual tournament's great. You're rooting for your buddies and everything, and you want to win it. You want to win for yourself. But there's something about that team format, that duel, and knowing how much a pin lifts up your team and can be the difference. It really brings it all home for you. But looking ahead to this week, I don't have my schedule up, but I know that wrestling. There it is. I got it now. I had to find the right thing. I know that we got some stuff coming up this week. We've got May River, Battery Creek, and Jenkins. No, that's December. January. There we go. We got Beaufort, Berkeley, Northwood at Hanahan.
We got all the region meets for 7-4 coming up. We got.
Yeah, May River, James Island is the big one on Wednesday.
The quad Hilton High on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, I got 3 Lowco squads over there. Bluffton and Hilton Head already wrestled, so I'm guessing they're each wrestling Colleton and Lucy Beckham on Wednesday. And then Thursday, Whale Branch has one, and Colleton Prep will be there as well, which probably means Thomas Hayward will be there. Bridges Prep, nothing happening this weekend, doesn't look like. And then we got pretty light weeks unless I don't have everything in here. Pretty light week. Pretty heavy week the following week. Never mind. Bluffton, Hilton Head, James Island at May River on the 24th. That'll be fun. Who all will wrestle each other there? May River will have already wrestled James Island, so that should be James Island wrestling Bluffton and Hilton Head, and May River wrestling Bluffton and Hilton Head, I believe. So that'll be fun. That'll be a real good one on the 24th. Look forward to that one. I think that's also when the region
coming up against Colleton County. That's a team I assume they should handle. Then that could be a sizable challenge when they go up against Beckham. For
Beckham's pretty tough. Beckham has
that should be a competitive match.
Some really good guys. Most notably Gianni Baton, 126 is a stud. He's ranked number 1 in the state. He very nearly beat JJ Peace the weekend before you lost. He almost got him at the Shark. Lost 3-2. Now Beckham's tough. They've got some good middle school kids coming too. They're going to be pretty strong for a good while, I think. By the way, let me look at the team scores here, because May River was tied for 3rd in the JV for team scores. So they've got even more. That's in the whole state. So they got even more coming behind these guys. But this will speak to the quality, I think, of the Low Country and middle school. Hilton Head was 1st out of 32 teams. And then McCracken tied for 6th. Robert Smalls tied for 8th, and it was tight in here. Like 77 points was 2nd, and we had 69 and tied for 6th. So it was, stacked up. Robert Smalls was 8th. River Ridge 11th. Bluffton Middle 12th. Ladies Island 16th. So all of us finished in the top half of the 32 teams. So, I think that bodes well for the future of wrestling in the Low Country.
Especially Hilton Head. That's a program historically that has done really well.
Newton's back there, see? And
you expect to rebound.
He went hard after recruiting middle school, and he's got a bunch of kids. We want them in a duel, though, because see, they win all these tournaments because there's no limit on how many kids you can enter per weight class. But we're looking forward to seeing them in a duel and seeing how we match up, because we've been undefeated in duels so far, and they've been team to beat as far as tournaments go. So we want to see how we match up with them in the duel. But it's really fun to start thinking about these kids in high school, the middle school kids, and what lineups are going to look like possibly, and who all would be in them and stuff like that. I'm excited as a wrestling fan in the Low Country. It's the most exciting it's ever been, and that's cool. And we're going to talk more MMA as this show goes on and evolves as well. But it is wrestling season right now, so we're going to focus on those kids for the moment, and we'll take a little more time focusing on the other aspects of the combat sports world as we go along. But let's shout out our Lowco Booster Club. We got Court Lifestyle Pros, Low Country natives Daniel and Debbie Court, selling the Lowco Lifestyle on Hilton Head Island. Let them bring you home. Barefoot Floor Care of the Low Country, Chris Odom. He's bummed out tonight about his Cowboys, but he'll be back to focusing on getting your floors so clean. Your feet will thank you tomorrow. And I saw he cut up a Cowboys hat tonight. He was pretty mad. Pretty mad. That was a poor showing. Prime IV Hydration and Wellness, now open in Belfair Town Village. If you're feeling dehydrated, go see Max and get juiced up. Rooted Living Wellness, my guy, Dr. Ambrose Cole, and Dr. Kevin over there, also a big wrestling guy. He helps out at Bridges. Dr. Ambrose Cole is the best chiropractor I know. He'll get you cracked up, get you feeling right, mind, body, and spirit. Eagle Creations will help you out with your custom apparel, your promotional items, and your custom gift baskets. They're over on Argent Boulevard. And Jay's Barbershop is the place to be in Ridgeland, whether you need a haircut or not. And they talk a lot of wrestling over there these days, I hear, because little Jacob's a hammer. And getting better all the time. He's another one who he finally made the leap and went over to Reverence. And after a couple days, he was like, oh my gosh, this is what's been missing. Like, I want to wrestle all the time and get better. And he's going to be just incredible. There's going to be a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them who they've drank the Kool-Aid. They're all in on it, and they're getting good fast. And it's really fun to watch. And they're pushing each other to get better. The little 96s in middle school, Lawson, Santino, and McCallum, man, they push the heck out of each other. They're great friends, and they want to beat each other so bad, and it's awesome to watch. And it's a great thing. Iron sharpening iron. But before we go, Wes, you want to shout out some hammers?
I'm gonna go the middle school route and pick some of those talents, up and coming talent, especially that Lawson kid. You mentioned Schuster Shoe, another one that put together a strong performance. There's a bunch of these middle school kids we can chat out there, and it's fun to see them compete and to give them opportunities to grow, because I think competition really breeds that type of improvement and success. So, we got to see it firsthand over this weekend and over these past few events as they continue to strengthen themselves. But Lawson with an excellent showing there to help spark this group of middle schoolers who are doing some great work out there on the mat. And once again, Reverence Wrestling helps make it happen to really spark these young men and women forward. So props to them for doing what they do. And I love covering these high school kids, but same feeling for the up and comers who are going to do big things a few years down the road.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the Foundry over in Beaufort, because they train a lot of the kids. A lot of the kids train there in the Beaufort area. Some are coming over to Reverence, but a lot are going to the Foundry, where the guys at Bridges are involved. And that bridge has been built now too, where the guys who are teaching wrestling at the Foundry are now talking with Blake about Reverence, and because we're all in it together. It's a rising tide situation, and it's an awesome camaraderie happening right now. But yeah, shout out to those are good shout outs. All four of those guys who won titles, Lawson, Schuler, Posey, and Santee, they had to do some work to get it done. Those were all tough brackets too. Shout outs for my hammers of the week. I'm gonna go with the guys Powell would have told us about if he had stayed up late with us. Undefeated for May River yesterday, Marcus Folk, Walter Briones, Houston Rudisil, Dylan Seaman, Will Morrow, and Bo Gwynn, who we mentioned earlier, knocked off 2 state runners up, and still is going to have a really tough road at the lower state. But you go undefeated in dual format where you gotta win 5 times in a day. that's a solid day's work. 5-0 is a solid day's work. So shout out to all those guys for getting it done and helping the Sharks bring home the title at the Bobcat Duels, where again they had some tough competition. Stratford is ranked 5th in Class 5A, and they took them down in the finals 40-23. So really, really solid outing again from May River, which again was supposed to be down this year. They're down. They're rebuilding. They got a pretty good thing happening in that room right now. It's pretty special. Yeah. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Grind. Thanks so much to the Olympian, Ken Cherto, the coach. He'll be back over at Reverence tomorrow, 12-2, for a great clinic, helping those Lowco kids get better. And I didn't mention it, but, we had kids getting world-class training in wrestling today in the Lowco. Also world-class training in lacrosse happening over at May River because the Low Country Rush program got his feet off the ground today. Kieran McCardle, if you know lacrosse, I didn't know the name because I'm not a huge lacrosse guy, but he's like an all-star actively currently in the PLL. And he's heading up. He just moved down here. His assistant coach moved down here, and they're heading up this Low Country Rush. They partnered with us to help create, get some media and create some content for them. And I was highly, highly impressed with the level of coaching and teaching that was happening there. And the quality of people involved in it. So just another, grassroots program getting its feet off the ground here in the Lowco to help kids really develop the skills they need to go to the next level. And you love to see it. So just wanted to shout that out, even though it's a wrestling show.
Yeah.
Lacrosse. And I saw some wrestlers out there too. So
yeah, that's really cool. I love lacrosse. That's a really fun sport. Another, kind of a
northern sport that has migrated down.
A great, feeder sport, if you will, or to intermingle, because I think a lot of skill sets, footwork, and just strength, upper body, and movement. I think wrestling is a good sport to pair with lacrosse.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, lacrosse works well with wrestling and with basketball because a lot of the offense, the motion, the defenses, a lot of that stuff is. We talked with Brooks Van Esselston about that last year, about how a lot of the stuff that he learned from basketball translated over to lacrosse as far as lanes and angles and things like that. It's a sport I didn't grow up around, but I've grown to appreciate more and more.
It's much bigger up in the Northeast. That's where it kind of really heated up and sparked from. But these last years, and we've talked about it during some of our different podcasts, but when you started covering just local sports here, it's night and day compared to what lacrosse is now. I mean, you're seeing a lot more men and women specializing in it, and you're just getting more complex skills, and it's just a lot more evolved. And we'll definitely have to get some more coaches and players once we get into lacrosse in just a few months, few weeks. But that's a really fun. Especially when I started.
Lacrosse podcast coming. I smell it.
Oh yeah, let's go. Yeah. I'll have to find a co-host who would.
I got a few people in mind. We're gonna make it happen.
That's one I'd love to be a part of because I've gotten to be a pretty big lacrosse fan junkie, I guess whatever you can call it. But it's a really exciting sport to watch.
It is.
And just it's
not as good as wrestling though.
I can agree. Wrestling's fantastic, and this has been fun to really start this new adventure into the Lowco Grind, just to hear from more coaches and people in the sport, to hear their views and perspectives. So great to be a part of it, and excited for what's to come, because these next few weeks are really going to kick into high gear with everything going on to determine state champions and determine finalists, and then you go into the individual, because it's cool. You have the team event, you have the team championship, then you move to the individuals. It gives you kind of another opportunity to shine for yourself.
Yeah, something else that it's a unique thing in that regard, where it's like the team season ends and now it's like you're just wrestling for yourself. Although like in Kansas, we still did our team tournament championship. So you were still wrestling for your team, even in the individual state tournament. They don't do that here. They only do the dual champ. So, which is fine. It's a more true test tournament team champs. in a state tournament doesn't really work for me all that much because it's not the whole team is only qualifiers, right? So it's kind of weird. But in Kansas, it was different because we took 32 to state. So like it was a little different. With only 8 going to state, it's hard to get very many guys in there, and then you don't have very many guys scoring points. It's not really an accurate, indicator of anything. But regardless, thanks again to Ken Cherto for jumping on with us. The first Olympic wrestler to grace us with his presence on the show, as far as I know. We may have had one that was very humble to tell us that. But
I'm trying to think of. I mean, I feel like we may have had one along the way that I forgot about, but
we may have had an Olympian, but I don't think we've had an Olympic wrestler. I think that was the
first one for sure on the wrestling mat. Yeah.
I know we had a future Paralympian. She'll be a Paralympian eventually.
Yeah, we haven't had. Speaking of Olympics, it's an Olympic year, so that means CJ Cummings.
He's trying to make a comeback. He kind of fell off for a while. He's trying to make a comeback. I'd love to see him make another run.
Yeah, wish him all the best.
That kind of fits on this show to some degree, but nonetheless, thanks so much to Coach Cherto. Thanks to the folks at Reverence for letting me come in and walk around with the camera today. That was fun. And thanks to everybody involved in the Lowco Grind. We appreciate all the support and appreciate all of our sponsors and all of you who show up to listen or watch. That's going to do it for this one. Until next time, go Lowco and keep grinding.